Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere. Two staff members from the Israeli embassy were shot outside the Capital Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C.
But first tonight, new details of the deadly shooting of a couple outside of the Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C.
31-year-old Elias Rodriguez behind bars tonight, facing a judge today on murder charges. And if convicted, he faces the death penalty.
All of it sparking extra security at Jewish locations in our area. Sonia Rincon covering that angle.
But we begin tonight with Josh Einiger and the latest on the investigation. Josh.
Well, Mike, when it was over, a young couple lay dying on the street amid the casings from 21 bullets fired by a man prosecutors say was consumed with hate, who targeted his victims only because he thought they were Jewish. They sang in Hebrew tonight on the streets of D.C. They left flowers. They tried in vain to find meaning in the cold-blooded murder here not 24 hours earlier.
A young couple at the beginning of their life's journey, about to be engaged in another country, had their bodies removed in the cold of the night in a foreign city in a body bag.
Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Milgram had just left an event for young Jewish professionals at the Capital Jewish Museum. They emerged onto the street where a gunman was waiting.
A guy came up and looked like a gun. I couldn't tell what it was. Shot this young couple. He just ran up. It was terrible.
Charging documents say the shooter fired several times at the couple at close range and, once they fell to the ground, advanced closer, leaning over them and firing several more times. And when Milgram tried to crawl away, he followed behind her and fired again. 21 bullets in all. After the execution in the street, witnesses say the shooter walked into the event at the museum and bragged about what he'd done.
He reaches into his backpack and pulls out a keffiyeh and says, I did it. I did this for Gaza. Free Palestine.
Free Palestine!
He was still chanting as police took him away. Today, federal agents descended on the suspect's Chicago area home. His gun, purchased legally and loaded in checked luggage when he flew to Washington the day before the shooting.
Nothing in criminal records or in our holdings that indicated that this person was previously known to us or would have popped on our radar or MPD's radar.
Lashinsky and Milgram both worked for and fell in love at the Israeli embassy in Washington, and Milgram had volunteered for a nonprofit promoting peace between Israelis and Palestinians. Her family, members of the community synagogue in Port Washington, Long Island.
One of the things that I'm inspired by is what she dedicated her life to. And I will redouble my efforts as an advocate for a kind of peace that can exist between Palestinians and Israelis for all the children of Abraham who live between the river and the sea.
Prosecutors say the alleged shooter confessed to police when they took him into custody, telling them, I did it for Palestine, I did it for Gaza. That said, he entered no plea in court today for his initial appearance on several federal murder and firearms charges. Charges, by the way, that are death penalty eligible, though U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro says it's too early to decide if she will seek the death penalty. Sade, those two victims, were to be engaged next week.
Oh, that is so sad. Just heartbreaking. A young couple in love. Josh, thank you.
Sure.
Now, according to reports, 31-year-old Elias Rodriguez, who lived in Chicago, came to Washington, D.C. with a plan to look to participate in an alleged act of terrorism by by going and standing outside the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. Now, according to reports, Elias Rodriguez was allegedly pacing outside of the museum before he looked to participate in a possible mass shooting, and allegedly looking to participate in that crime by targeting a couple, Yaron Lashinsky and Sarah Lynn Milgram, who were outside the museum, shooting and killing them, then looking to go into the crowd as related to the chaos, and possibly, according to my speculation, look to participate in a mass shooting inside of the museum. However, he wound up being identified and quickly taken into custody by Capitol Police. And after being taken into custody by Capitol Police, this is where Elias Rodriguez wound up yelling, "Free, free Palestine," as he was taken into custody, basically confirming that he had willfully and intentionally participated in a hate crime and an act of terrorism. Now, the Capitol or Washington or the D.C. police and the FBI and other organizations see the alleged behavior of Elias Rodriguez as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged act of terrorism Elias Rodriguez participated in, it definitely fits the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And it's clear to me that Elias Rodriguez definitely is fitting a pattern I've been seeing emerging among young people over the last 5 years since the COVID-19 lockdowns. Now, ever since the COVID-19 lockdowns, the ages of these shooters have becoming much younger, and many of these individuals, as they have become much younger, are showing me a pattern of them basically winding up being indoctrinated into radical action because they wind up reading a lot of misinformation online. And because they read misinformation online, they feel motivated to go out here and participate in criminal acts of behavior and acts of terrorism, similar to what happened with a 25-year-old man who decided to participate in an event where he looked to blow up a fertility clinic in Palm Springs, California, all because he thought that people should not be born. And this is a pattern that has been emerging among young people ever since the COVID-19 lockdowns ended, where they basically are filled with all of this misinformation and believe that they need to be motivated to take action based on the misinformation they have wound up reading online. And that's what I believe happened here in the case of Elias Rodriguez. I believe that this possibly Hispanic man was sitting there possibly in his home, possibly getting upset over an incident as related to an alleged hate crime that took place back in 2023. Now, in 2023, Elias Rodriguez got outraged because he heard about the death of a 6-year-old boy, Wady Afiami, in Plainfield, Illinois, and as he was outraged by the individual who led to the death of this young boy, being motivated by anti-Muslim and anti-Palestinian hate, this is where he himself wound up becoming filled with a lot of anger and a lot of hate, and a belief that he needed to go out here and take some action as related to things, even though the killer had basically been taken into custody and had been going through the criminal justice system and eventually wound up being convicted of murder and hate crime charges and is currently sentenced to 53 years in jail. This is where Elias Rodriguez believed that something else needed to be done, and something else needed to be done because he was creating a covert contract in his head that if he went out here and did something to support the Palestinians as related to their political cause, as related to what he believed to be a genocide in Gaza, as related to the retaliation from the entire incident that transpired of terrorism in October 7th in Israel, he believed that he needed to take action, not from the perspective of someone who lived in the real world, as related to letting the criminal justice system do what it needed to do and let the government of Israel handle its business. No, what this guy, Elias Rodriguez, wanted to do was go out here and take action from the perspective of a beta male who lived in the secret world and hoped to get some praise through the covert contract he was creating with the world by thinking that if he went out here and participated in this act of terrorism, he would go out here and receive rewards from the public for participating in this crime. This is what he was hoping to do by participating in what I believe to be a possible plan to participate in this mass shooting as related to his political protest of Palestine. This is what he was doing in the secret world because he wanted to get validation and approval as a man and define his manhood as a man based on all of the misinformation he basically was reading online as related to the entire Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And as he was basically reading many of these radical websites and radical message boards, he was possibly in an online echo chamber. And as he was in this online echo chamber, he was simmering and boiling in anger about a political cause which he had absolutely nothing to do with, and looking to go out here and make a statement seeking the validation and approval of those who support the whole Palestinian cause by looking to go out here and participate in an act of terrorism as a way to express his rage at the world and basically get validation and approval for that rage and be justified in participating in that rage while getting some praise for going out here and participating in this radical political action. That's what I believe happened here as related to the case of Elias Rodriguez, who went out here and again gunned down to innocent people as related to looking to get even as related to an incident he had absolutely nothing to do with, looked to go out here and murder an innocent couple for just his own anger at this whole case as related to the whole Israeli-Palestinian situation, not helping anybody in this whole situation, just looking to sate his own feelings and ego regarding this whole political situation and showing how little he understands the subtle politics transpiring around him regarding the situation with Israel and Palestine, and showing how little he understood the value of his own intangibles of manhood, such as his dignity, which he sacrificed as related to his self-worth, sacrificing his self-worth to fight somebody else's political cause, sacrificing his self-worth and saying that his life had no value and didn't value the lives of others, and sacrificing the lives of others and basically sacrificing his freedom. That's what Elias Rodriguez did as he participated in this act of terrorism with a malicious forethought without doing any sort of critical thinking regarding the complexities of a political situation that basically has been stated in the Word of God that would only end with when the Messiah, Jesus Christ, returned to the earth. That's the only time it's going to end. But he wanted to go out here and participate in an extreme act of terrorism as related to his own feelings about political beliefs without ever doing any sort of critical thinking about more important things like his own freedom. And sadly, this is where Elias Rodriguez is now going to go from being a free man as related to his beliefs on Palestine and basically now going to a place where he's basically discredited his own beliefs by participating in this act of anti-Semitic terrorism. And now he's going from being a free man who was out here with what I believe to be a whole lot of misinformation and just being completely misinformed and acting on misinformation to now being under the authority of the COs, and he'll be now under the authority of the federal COs inside of the jail as he's on trial, and eventually will wind up getting convicted. And as he's convicted, he's going to go from being a free man to now being taken to the Supermax. And he's not even going to have to deal with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles inside of a standard federal penitentiary. No, dude is going straight to the Supermax, where he will be spending the rest of his days wishing he could get himself some Little Debbie snack cakes, ramen noodles, packets of Crystal Light lemonade, packets of Crystal Light tea, Keef coffee, Taster's Choice coffee, off-brand Oreo cookies, off-brand Duplex cookies, off-brand vanilla wafers, off-brand ginger snaps, off-brand sugar wafers, Hunt's snack pack puddings, packets of soy sauce, packets of sriracha sauce, beef sausages, hot and sour pickles, hot Mexican peppers. I mean, he's going to be wishing he could have gone to that type of penitentiary. No, he's not going to have to deal with Bubba, Tiny, Roscoe, Big Dave, Melvin, and Mr. Sprinkles. No, he's going to be doing life inside of the Supermax for the rest of his life, and possibly might be on the road to getting himself a lethal injection like Timothy McVeigh got, possibly on the fast track to that. And that's not going to help any political cause, and not going to help this guy at all as related to his cause, because his cause is over. But this is what happens when you have young people who basically don't know how to process information online, don't know how to process anything at all. No, they just act on their emotions impulsively as related to what they're seeing on the news. And as they act impulsively as related to what they're seeing on the news, they then go online and watch a lot more misinformation, get more misinformation, get themselves all riled up, not ever thinking about more important things. And that's what I'm seeing with a lot of young people as related to these political causes. They're not really thinking about how this is not involve them. And again, instead of going out here and thinking about more important things like their own freedom, they wind up going from being free men and women to being men in crisis and women in crisis. That's what I'm seeing that's happening to a lot of college graduates and a lot of young people who want to get in the middle of a political cause that's not their fight. I mean, not their fight, but they want to get involved, not understanding that you're possibly going to, again, wind up losing in the end, because this guy, again, took the lives of two innocent people and basically shows how an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth leaves you blind and toothless, and again, doesn't get justice for anyone at all. No, the obsession with vengeance basically leads to people winding up with nothing at all. This man basically lost his freedom and is possibly going to lose his life, all because he was a man who wanted to try to define his masculinity, but didn't define his masculinity at all. No, he basically showed the world why he's a man in crisis, and shows us all how there's a disturbing trend coming out of the pandemic, where we have a sickness as related to people becoming sick because of misinformation, and becoming sick because they sat there in an online echo chamber going down rabbit holes as related to conspiracy theories. And as they go down these rabbit holes with these conspiracy theories and misinformation, it's leading to them thinking that they need to take radical action that does the harm to others and themselves, because they don't know how to filter information or how to take misinformation with a grain of salt. A lot of people don't have any sort of discernment as men and women, and as they have no discernment as men and women, this is leading to a crisis with the information superhighway, because people are not understanding how to process information, not understanding how to process information like news, or that they don't need to take action. We have people in institutions like the criminal justice system that can handle business. They don't need you to go out here and be a vigilante, which is what this guy tried to be. Again, wanted to go out here, again, fight for somebody else's political cause, but as he looked to fight for somebody's political cause to try to define himself as a man, he showed us all why he's a man in crisis. Now, if you want to learn how to identify dysfunctional behavior online, you can pick up my book, Stop Simping in Cyberspace, on Amazon.com. And if you want to learn how to identify the behavior of a beta male and help someone in your life break out of this pattern and help them become a healthy man, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com, along with Stop Simping in Cyberspace. And both of those books will help you get some perspective as related to misinformation online, and how to discern the difference between information and misinformation, and how to break out of the pattern of being a man in crisis. And if you want to see me make more videos talking about the man crisis going on in this country, and the woman crisis going on in this country, and the information crisis going on, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.